All right, Coach, I think everybody's ready whenever you are.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank our fans again, our parents, students, recruits that came to the game. It was an awesome environment. And I think the new lights, what the game ops staff did, elevating the environment even further with the light show. I thought it was great for the fans. It's obviously adds entertainment. It was fun for our players. The guys raved about it after the game. I think, Carter Finley Stadium is a special place. It's one of the best college football environments in the country. And on top of that, I think, our field crew, the way our turf is right now and the paint and everything they're doing, it's an incredible place. So a lot of kudos to everybody that made that happen, and look forward to seeing another version of that this week with another night game at home. Just talking about the game itself, I'm proud of our team and our staff, how we played, how hard we played. I thought there was a lot of very visible strain, elite effort. Guys played really hard, and we played a lot of guys, rotated several people in and out of the game. Starting on offense, the positives, really felt like our run game was a big part of the time of possession in that game. That was a good defensive line. Those guys are very experienced players, are big. I think their defensive end, number 19, is a draft pick. I think that guy's really talented. Their linebackers played hard. Their DBs were long. So they made it tough on us, and we were able to run the ball effectively. Our tailbacks were physical and for the most part did what they could do to help us, and that the receivers improved away from the ball, away from the point of attack, excuse me. Our time of possession in the second half was big. We had the ball for 19 minutes. From a negative standpoint, we're shooting ourselves in the foot too much on offense, whether it's penalties pre-snap or some technique things within the play where we can avoid a penalty or just a bonehead mistake, a lineman downfield. That shouldn't happen. We had a turnover that was a costly error on Demi, crossing the goal line and not finishing through the goal line with the ball. Definitely a teachable moment for him, and one that I know he's learned a lot from, and did a great job bouncing back and making a play for us. But, I think overall you're still seeing some young players, some inexperienced players at times that just need to make the routine plays and execute at a little bit higher level. If you get the touchdown that Demi had, if we don't have the lineman downfield on Devin Leary's touchdown catch, that's 14 more points, and we're feeling pretty darn good about the results of that game, scoring in the 40s. So, it's just little things like that in this game that can really taint how you feel. But similar to our first game, I think we leave that one, offensively speaking, with a lot to improve. Left a lot of plays on the field and get to do it with a win. On defense, I thought that was our best performance this year. The 3 takeaways, Aiden White's touchdown, 2 interceptions, a sack. He had an outstanding game. Jakeem Harris had a nice interception. I thought in the box, we performed well. We were disruptive. D-line strained. I thought Savion had a really good game up front. And guys ran to the football. Josh and Corey were more disruptive at the nose. CJ Clark had 2 sacks and got involved in the pass rush areas. I thought the linebackers played downhill and fit the run well. Tanner probably had his best game since last season, really tackled well. And so he's improved a lot as the season's gone on. We had the disruption up front that you would hope to have when we're plus 10. We call them bombs, but plays in their backfield, tackles for loss and sacks. And we got pressure on the quarterback, sacked him 4 times and forced him to throw some poor balls. Again, we were able to sustain or stay on our line of scrimmage and not, get into the hard count part of football. I think we've played 3 games now where the offense has attempted to get our D-line and our linebackers offsides, and the guys did a good job being disciplined. I thought we limited explosive plays against an offense that's known for creating them. until the last drive where we really played a prevent defense. You know, we kept the ball in front of us and didn't allow them to get behind us most of the night. You know, on the negative side, defensively, Travale lost contain on a pressure that would have been a sack for Tanner, and just young player, you know, similar to what you see on offense sometimes. Those guys have to make mistakes to get better, unfortunately. One I hope he learns from. I do feel like we got tired in the one drive. There was a area of the game there in the second quarter where we were out there for a long number of plays, and then we scored a touchdown at the end of that drive with Aiden, and so we had to go right back out there again. And then after that drive, we went 3 and out on offense, and then went right back out there again, and we got tired playing a lot of snaps there in one quarter. So, you know, that's something we've got to rotate more, which is difficult at times against the no huddle team that isn't subbing all the time. But that's an area that we can help ourselves. Special teams, I thought Chris Dunn continues to be elite in what he's doing. He's hitting the ball well. His op time's great. He's very confident right now. You know, the muff punt fumble recovery by Joe Shimko. I was happy for him to see him battle and fight under that pile and come up with the ball. You know, Shane improved his hang time, averaged over 4 seconds, 4.16, which was a goal of his this week. And I thought the special teams created some very advantageous field position for us in this football game. And so kudos to those guys. You know, excited to play another home game. Expect a raucous crowd, and that's the standard. You know, it's about celebrating Wolfpack football. It's about cheering on our players and cheering on our staff, and celebrating that you're a part of such a great university. I know at times it gets into who we're playing, and to me, it's not about that. It should be about the young men that play for your university and how hard they work and the pride you have for your university. And we have the nation's 5th longest home winning streak. And I'd like to make sure I emphasize the word we. The fans are a huge part of that. You are. I mean, this doesn't happen in places that have 25,000 people show up. It happens in places that sell out, you know, and that get loud as hell. And so you're helping make our program better when you do that. And it helps recruiting. It helps our players. It helps our coaches. So just want to thank you and continue to emphasize the importance of that. And we're playing a UConn team that has a veteran defense. They do have a long bunch of D linemen. Their linebackers are experienced guys. They're all 6'2", 220 or more. Coach Mora is a veteran proven coach at the NFL level and the college level, and he's building a program. And you can see that he's doing it the right way. They've played some really good competition. They're well coached. You see him playing with fundamentals and technique, and you can see their scheme and what he's trying to do. You know, they're young on offense. Their quarterback transfer from Penn State got injured, and they're playing a young guy, but he's from St. Thomas Aquinas in Florida, Devon Betty's high school, and he's a winner. You know, as a 3-time state champion as a quarterback. And I know they'll build a team around him. They have very good skill players. You can see some explosive plays. There's a lot of quick screens and plays on the perimeter to get those guys the ball. For us, I think this is a great opportunity to get better. We've really emphasized weekly improvement with our roster individually and collectively, and identified areas with each player for them to focus on. And we'll continue to do that, and look forward to another opportunity to go compete. So with that, I'll open it up.
Corey.
Dave, going back after week 1, I know Tim Beck was asked about, Devin Leary's performance a couple times, and he had mentioned that there was a couple overthrown balls, a couple balls that he, could have gone back and would have loved to have had back. What were your thoughts on his performance after this week, having watched the game film now at this point?
I think he did some good things. We had 4 drops that hurt him. I think the one to Demi would have been a touchdown on the screen. The one to Darrell would have been a first down, and those were routine drops. The other 2 were contact catches, with Anthony and Julian. And so some of those things make the performance different. You just see an incomplete. We see an opportunity that could have changed the game, in certain ways. But he's seeing the field, he's trying to kind of find chemistry with some new guys. And I think that's a work in progress still at times. We're going to get better and better as these young guys, as Anthony Smith and Julian and Daryl being a new player for us. The chemistry with Devin is still in the infant stages, I guess you'd say. You see the chemistry with him and Porter, with him and Thayer, with him and DC. So it just takes time, you know, and I think overall, nobody's harder on himself than Devin. I told him after the game, you know, there's games last year where veteran players made veteran plays to help you. And right now we're trying to make the same plays with guys that aren't veterans at times, you know, and there's a plan for that, in my opinion, over time gets really good. You know, when two guys that are explosive athletes start to play where the game slows down a little bit, it changes things for Devin. And so we just got to get there. We're through 25% of the regular season. And as you saw 2 weeks ago, Anthony Smith jumped over two people and made circus catches. And now we think he's going to do that every rep. And that's just not realistic yet, you know. But we're excited about the progress and what's going on. I think you can see a year ago, no one knew what Demi could do. And now you're seeing a playmaker coming out of that, you know, and we're just evolving right now. So, you know, I just got to kind of be patient and know that it's coming.
Thanks, Dave.
JB.
Hey, Coach, thanks for taking out the time. This is clearly a trap game coming up for you guys with UConn, and obviously with who comes after that. What's going to be what experiences are you going to lean on from the past to make sure your guys bring an A effort, you know, not just for that game, but in practice every day this week?
Well, I think the focus that our guys are really excited about is the individual improvement, you know, and that's where we've been since the East Carolina game. I think that's an experience enough for these guys. I know where you're coming from. I think, you know, everyone in sports can see those things. The good thing for us, there's been enough of these examples out there in college football this year to point to, where you don't have to just talk about it. I mean, it seems like every week somebody's losing a game like that, and we're going to try to get better. You know, I think that's what really good programs do. Doesn't matter who you play, it's how you play. And this started back in the preseason. I mean, our worst enemy is us, not anyone else on our schedule. And we're going to be playing that exact same, you know, verbiage to them throughout the week. And these guys understand they want to play well, and know they got to practice well to do that.
Thank you.
Jordan.
Hey, Coach, Jordan Davis, Spectacular Magazine. Can you speak just a little bit about Demi's improvement? Like you said, a year ago, he was just on special teamer and only saw 6 games, but now in his first 3 games, he has over 400, you know, all-purpose yards. And last game, 147 with 2 touchdowns and almost a 3rd touchdown. Can you just speak on what you've seen from him in the past year and maybe this offseason coming into this year?
You know, he's a naturally gifted football player. He sees things. There's a vision that comes with this game that is hard to coach at times. And Drake Thomas has that vision on defense. He sees things, you know, that are very hard to coach. Demi sees things as a football player. He's tough. He's very, very competitive. And he's gifted, you know, he was blessed with ability. And so we just got to grow him up. You know, he's still learning. He's still making mistakes, but he competes really hard and he's gifted, and he'll continue to get better.
David.
Hey, Coach, do you have any updates on the availability of Jordan Houston and Tyler Baker-Williams going into this week?
Not yet. No, we'll see Justin, our trainer, here this afternoon. So I don't want to speculate until I have the most up-to-date info, but we'll have it for you on Thursday.
James.
Yeah, Dave, I know you're getting asked a lot about the offense, but it looked like in this game, you guys really schemed up a lot of opportunities for scoring plays. Is that a positive you can lean on? Just kind of like we finish those out. Maybe there's a completely different outlook on this unit.
Yeah, it's like I said. I mean, we would have had 41 points with 2 plays that did score. They just didn't count. You know, I mean, Demi's play should have been a touchdown if he crosses the goal line like he's supposed to with the ball, and Devin's play did score. Anthony's downfield on a pass play, which doesn't make sense to him or us right now. I mean, if we're 41-17, are you guys asking about the offense? I don't know. So, just those two plays alone changes the outcome of that game from the outside looking in. But, when within the game, there's a lot of plays we left on the field, man. I mean, there's little things that are, hey, we didn't do this. We could show you 8 clips in practice where we did it a certain way. And then on game day, it didn't happen that way. And that's youth, the Anthony and Julian are part of some of those plays. Demi obviously on some of that. So just there's a bigger outside concern than there is an inside concern, I would say.
And I wanted to ask you about CJ Clark, obviously 2 sacks in this game, just him coming back from injury, where you're seeing him at right now.
So excited for him. I mean, I think his confidence is growing each week. I said this a couple weeks ago, there's a progression you go through returning from an injury like he had, and can I do this? I think I can. And then you do it. And then you're on to another one and another one. And he's starting to get that, one of his biggest strengths as a D lineman is his explosiveness off the line of scrimmage, that twitch that we call it. And you're starting to see that again. And he's very strong. He's running through contact. His first sack, he split a double team, so I'm happy for him and happy for us because we need that. Like I've said many times, we lost Daniel Joseph and Levi Jones, our best 2 pass rushers. So seeing him and Travali pick up that, helps. We need that pass rush from our front.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Aaron.
Hey, Dave, I know you learn about your team every time they take the field, a little bit about how they respond to moments. I'm curious, when you're playing a power conference opponent like Texas Tech, you talked about their defensive line being good and they made it tough on you. How much value there is in that in terms of pushing you guys to play even better, or maybe more you learn about your team playing against power conference opponents? Yeah,
I think it does. It enlightens us as coaches, like, hey, this game, we really got to see this guy step up and play well. And as you know, Clemson and Florida State's D lines are very, very impressive, right? So a game like that was really good from a measuring standpoint of where we need to improve, what we're doing well, what we got to do better. Put our tight ends in some matchups on big guys on the edges too. So we were able to evaluate them and see where they're better and where they need help. I think it's huge. The higher that level of competition is, you also get to see the nerve factor. I think that was the first night game for some of these kids playing for us. It was an electric environment, and I think it's Tanner Engel played the best he's played all year. So that environment made him better, Other guys, you could tell that it was a little bit much for them. Next time they're in it, it'll be better, and so it's great to have that because as we know, we're going to be playing in that environment as we move forward almost every week.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, you bet.
Tim.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Good.
Couple of old guys on here remember Freddie Autry-Lindsay as a player at NC
Yeah.
State. Can you talk a little bit about his contributions and progression as a coach now with your team on your defense and how he's helped some of those guys play as well as they've been playing this year?
Yeah. Freddie's been awesome to have here on the staff. He had 2 interceptions for a touchdown against UConn back as a player. So I know he told that story to the team during training camp when he spoke about one of our core values, which is focus for this week. And, I think Freddie, one, is an alum, so he's coaching in a different, heartbeat, I guess you'd say. His blood's in the bricks here. And it's cool to see him, mentor these guys. Him and Coach Ruffin work with my freshmen every week, the developmental guys, we call it. And kind of a skills workshop and helping them through that first semester of college. It's the hardest semester, in my opinion, transitionally. And so Freddie's a really good mentor, to these guys. As far as his position group, I think the performance speaks for itself, the way that Tyler Baker-Williams has been playing. Freddie gets a lot of credit for helping him, and you see him out there with Jalen Frazier, you see him out there with Devin Boykin, and he's doing a lot of good things with his guys, and so he's been a great addition to the staff, and it's not just football, in the state and recruiting. He's got a lot of good connections. He's very personable with the high school coaches and takes a lot of pride in being from this university.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
Rob,
Yeah, I was wondering, could you just speak to Peyton Wilson? Obviously, he's going to give you a lift with his skill, but when he's on the field, just sort of the bounce it gives your team.
Yeah, wasn't it awesome to see him out there? I mean, I know it made us all feel good for him as a person, and he was so happy, thankful, and again, a guy that's going through, the things you go through coming back from injuries. He played well. I mean, he can play better, but he led us in tackles his first full game back, and the one play, I can't remember exactly when it was in the game, but where you got to see him take off and run a guy down and tackle him on the sideline, like, he can cover ground. I mean, that guy's a tremendous athlete. So it's just putting another, elite competitor that's very gifted back on the field. And those guys love playing together, man. It was great seeing him and Isaiah and Drake in the same lineup for an entire game.
Chip.
Yeah, Coach, you talked about the chemistry with the passing game. Just in going back and looking at and analyzing things, are you pleased with the separation of the receivers, the routes being run correctly, all the other things that go into everything clicking in the passing game?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And I think there's always route depth conversations that we have. Sometimes, the receivers are getting good separation and we're overthrowing them. Sometimes they're not, and they're in contact catch situations. So, I think it's a work in progress. Like I said, I know those kids are working hard at it. It's a good group of guys. I think, as we continue to rep them and as Devin gets more and more comfortable with the different guys that are in the game, the production will go up. And again, I think you got to give Texas Tech a little credit. And that's a good defense. I mean, they played Dana Holgerson's offense the week prior and played him very well. So same defensive kids that beat Mississippi State in the bowl game. So I think you got to give them some credit in that.
Corey.
Dave, I know you spoke earlier about the fact that you don't have an update for Tyler Baker Williams or for some other players at this time, but where do things stand with Shaheem Battle? I know he wasn't able to go out there on Saturday.
Yeah, he's a lot better than he was. He went through warm-ups and just said he didn't feel 100%. And, well, at that point, we didn't play him. So, I think he's very close. Week prior was similar with Peyton, and we're just in the beginning of the season and just don't want something to be a lingering injury if we can prevent that, and with the depth we have at corner, the way that we felt about Aiden and Derek Pitts and Tayshawn, just didn't feel like it was a necessary risk. So we're hopeful we'll have him the rest of the season. But again, we got to get to Saturday before I tell you 100%. But he will practice. Like, he's in a good spot that way. Just got to get him through the contact part of it.
As a follow-up to that, how good is it to have a player like Aiden White behind him that's, able to go out there and have the type of game that he did?
Yeah, I mean, we list those guys as oars for a reason. We look at Aiden as a starter. I don't think there's much difference right now. And you watch, they're different. Shouldn't say that. Each of them have different skills that they're better at. I think Derek probably had his best game against Texas Tech too. I mean, he tackled really well. He had a great pass breakup on a deep ball. So we look at those guys all as equals when it comes to, the rotation they're going to be in. But to answer your question, yeah, I mean, we're super excited about Aiden. We were his freshman year, I mean, he went in and had a pick against Liberty as a true freshman. And missed him last year when he was out that injury. So it's great to have him back and healthy.
Thanks so much.
You bet.
Do we have anything else for Coach? All right, Coach. Thank you very
Thank y'all.
much. Thanks,
Have a good one.
everybody.
See you guys.